This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
Ben Settle, super practical.
I'm not telling people to have a mistress. I'm teaching you, learn the lesson from the people who have a mistress, because there's many business lessons that apply.
Pious.
There's a part in the book of Revelation where Jesus says, I want you either hot or cold. I'm spewing lukewarm churches out. And I think it's a good way to look at your list.
Romantic to his very core.
Once in a while, I'll give my girl a present, like a Snickers bar or something.
And totes tender.
If someone asks you to walk on eggshells, smash the eggshells and let the chips fall wherever they may.
Adored by feminists everywhere.
It takes a strong woman to admit when she's wrong.
Not a judgmental bone in his entire body.
I look at all the free information people give just on Facebook and I go, what a bunch of time hose.
Has a PhD in armchair philosophy.
In the land of dumbasses, the smartass is king.
You'll never meet a more sensitive guy.
If you really care about people, you shame the hell out of them. This is Ben Settle of the bensettle.com podcast. Okay, Jonathan, I decided the next 4 episodes, so, this one, the next 3 after this, are going to be dedicated to the people on my personal Mount Rushmore of marketing and copywriting. This is an analogy I first heard the great Brian Kurtz use, where he said, here's my Mount Rushmore of copywriters, old school copywriters, and I need they're the favorite 4. Now, for anyone listening to this who doesn't know what Mount Rushmore is, it's like 4 presidents, their faces on this giant mountain. These are the people that paved the way for America or whatever it is. Well, that's how we're going to do this. These are the 4 people that have laid the foundation and have probably been responsible for any success I've had. They get either the credit or the blame, Jonathan, because let's say they get either one. They might get the blame depending on how much people despise me or not. But because there are a few haters out there, and I'm always trying to get more. Jonathan, I'm always trying to get more. Ever since Old Bear, which I told you about in the last episode, I want 100 of him. So unfortunately for him, I think he actually loves these guys. So it's going to be kind of a disappointment to him. But these are the guys that these are the guys that I give all the credit to. The first one I'm going to talk about, I even told him in a private Facebook message, and I meant every word of it. So if it weren't for you, I'd probably be like pumping gas for a living or something. And I cannot recommend these guys enough. I'm not going to talk about proprietary information they've taught or anything like that. So anyone leaning in thinking they're not going to have to buy anything, I'm afraid you're going to be a little disappointed on that too, because I want you guys to go and buy all their stuff. And, if you like what I'm teaching, this is the foundation. This is stuff. These are the guys I learned my foundational stuff from. And so it is. So the first person, and these are not necessarily in order of who's best and better and all. They're all, in my mind, they're all up there. They're kind of like the kings and like in Narnia, they had 2 kings and 2 queens. They all ruled together. Not to say that any of these are girls. They're not. I don't want to go there, but it's the same concept. They're all ruling together as far as I'm concerned in who's the best of the best are. At least they have been for my business. And the first one is the great Matt Furey. I cannot say enough good things about Matt Furey. The guy, in my mind, he's a Renaissance man. He's one of these guys who just paved the way for me in so many ways. He doesn't even know it. I barely know the guy. I've had 2 or 3 message exchanges with him over the years. And, but I just, I tell him, this is the guy. And there's a lot of reasons for this, actually. And he's not necessarily, he does copywriting, but he doesn't hone in on that. 2 of the people I'm going to talk about are more copywriting oriented, but I think of Matt Furey, I think email king. I think this is the guy who took email. He saw what everyone else was doing at the time, especially, and just did the opposite, going probably not just to do the opposite because he knew it would work. He was going by what he knew would work. And so it is. So one of the things I learned from him, and this was the biggie. This is the foundation of everything I do. And that is, he made me realize, and this is just by observing, this was just 2003 or 2004 when I first got on his list, just observing what he did every day. He made me realize it, and this is when I was a very, I was struggling copywriter. I was constantly working all the time, writing ads, learning how to write ads, learning how to market, all this stuff. And I was already starting to burn out early on, actually, back then. But he made me realize, Jonathan, and Matt Furey alone made me realize that you can create a business where you're writing 1 email and you're done for the day. And, there's a whole methodology behind how you want to go about doing that, of course. But he just made it possible because before it seemed like you had to hustle and you had to work, constantly and all this. And you do to build up a business. You do have to work hard. Don't get me wrong. But when you get it all dialed in, you really can just write an email and be done. I'll never forget his emails back then. I used to get so inspired because he would just brag about it. And sometimes he'd be like, well, I didn't even edit this email. I just cranked and sent and I didn't edit it. And now I'm in China. I'm going to go ride elephants for the day or whatever he was doing out there.
Nice.
It's like, man, I want that. That's what I want to be able to do. That I want to have the option to do, to write an email, be done, and then have the option to do other stuff, whether I want to or not. Maybe I want to go have fun. Maybe I want to work on something else. Maybe I want to go write novels, which I've done. Maybe I want to get into other business partnerships, which I've done. And I'll have the time to do it. Maybe I just want to go walk my dog on the beach all day. I wasn't living by a beach back then, but I always wanted to at the time. And he was a big inspiration for that because I just didn't realize you could do that because all the people I was learning from, it seemed like they were working really, really, really hard. And Jonathan, I'm not saying I'm lazy, but I like to do work on my timetable, not like a client's or a boss's or anything like that. And that is a huge thing I learned from Matt Furey. Another thing, by the way, this could be a 20 episode podcast just on Matt Furey, but I'm going to try to keep this down to just a few main things that people can walk away with. Another thing is he made me realize just not only how profitable it is, but that it's okay. He's like, he gives you permission that it's okay to break rules. I have the kind of personality type, Jonathan, where I like to have rules and principles in place that I can follow. I'm not really big on coloring outside the line naturally and all that. I like to just follow a certain set of principles and just dogmatically stick to them. And that's how I am. But he made me realize you don't have to do that with copywriting and marketing and all that, even though everybody's saying you have to do that. And for example, and this is something I do to this day, and I get this completely from him and another guy named Jim Straw, who only Matt Furey and Jim Straw are like the only two people I know who really do this. I mean, I'm sure there's other people who do it now, but at the time, especially 16 years ago or whatever, was not offering a guarantee, which is like makes people gasp, right? Like, oh my God, you have to offer a guarantee. Everybody offers a guarantee. How are you going to do it? How are you getting by without offering a guarantee? Blah, 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 blah. And it never actually sat right with me, this like you have to have a guarantee thing. And even when I was brand new and I didn't know anything about anything, it seemed weird how people would go out of their way to just blast up their guarantee. It seemed like they would be attracting the wrong people to me. Now, I know there's a difference between selling to cold markets and your warm market. I'm talking about your warm market. I have found, and I tested this early on, but I got the inspiration from Mr. Furey, was I have found that you get, not only do you not necessarily make less sales to your warm list, at least. I'm not talking about to a cold list. That's a whole different thing. But to your own list. I had never saw like this huge drop in sales when I stopped offering guarantees and I said all sales are final. And if anything, I've gotten higher quality customers. And, I'm not recommending that people listening to this, if you're brand new to market, you're still buying stuff. I understand why you want a guarantee. I get it. I'm not talking about this from the customer's point of view. I'm talking about from my point of view. I couldn't stand dealing with these people who they would buy something and literally refund it either right away if it was a digital product, or they would wait until the very last day. It's almost like they had it on their calendar to put a guarantee. Yeah. And there's ways around that, right? Like if you can make it like a year guarantee or a 2-year guarantee or lifetime, it cuts down actually. I mean, in all the cases I've heard, I've never actually tried like a lifetime guarantee. So I don't like the idea of tail. Tail being like you're still responsible for doing stuff after you made the sale. I don't like that. I really don't. I want to be free. How can you be free if you still are in debt to people, even if it's to keep servicing them for something they paid for, right? You're not really free. So, but the whole no guarantee, I'm not saying everyone should do that. I'm just saying like I've never seen a reason not to do it. I remember when I was working with Michael Senoff really early on, and we were selling a product on how to buy $1 million businesses and all this informational product. And we decided to we kept getting all these like refunds, and we knew they were bullshit refunds. Like you could just tell, like, when you've been doing it long enough, if it's a legitimate refund, like, which would really only be for like a bad product, or unless you had advertising that was misleading. Otherwise, I don't see anyone who would refund other than those two reasons. Like if you got misled, that's obviously one thing, or if the product just really sucked. that's a whole other thing. But we had a great product and we were not misleading at all. And we knew they were full of crap. We said, let's just get rid of this stupid guarantee. Sales did not go down. In fact, they may have even have gone up. I can't remember, but they certainly didn't go down. And you get a higher quality customer. With my 10-minute workday product, AWAI, they decided to get rid of the guarantee. Sales did not drop that much. They may not have dropped at all. In fact, I got a spreadsheet of how many buyers we got in this last wave of people, and it was quite a few. Like, I'm not seeing a drop in much here. So, this is something I learned from Matt Furey and observing him, and I give him all the credit for that. And he also used to talk, you also get this, I love the attitude he has where the customer's not always right. I don't know if he's ever come out and like taught this or anything. It's just like my observation. He's going to run his business his way. He's not going to let a customer tell him how to run his business. He's not going to let Google tell him how to run his business. He's not going to let Facebook tell him how to run his business. He's going to run his business his way. If he wants to have a pop-up up there, he's going to have a pop-up. If it pisses people off, too bad. He just knows it makes the cash. It's building his list and making a cash register ring. And that's the important thing. So these are things, again, just like observation. I'm not even going into like what he's taught in his paid stuff because I'm not going to give away that stuff. But these are just the free things. The power and importance of continuity. I mean, I've heard this drum be beat over and over and over when I first got into marketing and copywriting. But it wasn't until he wrote a sales letter selling a seminar he was doing called Knockout Marketing. I believe it was Knockout Marketing, where he really kind of sells you on the idea of continuity without saying it. He's like, look, if you want to have a business like mine, if you can write 8 pages a month about something you're passionate about, you can do this. Obviously, you need to go to a seminar to get the details on how to put it all together. But it was I couldn't have afforded to go at the time. I wish I could have, but I mean, I didn't have, John, they say, you don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out. I didn't even have a window. I had nothing back then. This was like right after I was living in an office and all that. But it was just like that kind of thing. He was big into that and he was good at it. And it's been a huge influence on me. Another thing, Jonathan, and I believe you will probably agree with this, is this idea of selling physical products instead of digital products. And he was one of the earlier guys to not get seduced by the idea of the ebook. It doesn't mean he hasn't sold digital products. And I think he even tested doing it once, and maybe he still does. I don't know. But I remember him writing an email once to his list, and he was making a really good case for just selling physical products. And there's many more reasons beyond even like last week when we talked about that a little bit on the video Q&A. We talked, but there's a lot of reasons for selling something physical. But I remember the analogy he made. He's like, it's like Christmas. When you get something sent to you in the mail, it's like Christmas. Like you got a package versus downloading air. You know what I mean? Like what's the experience for the customer? And I think he's absolutely right. And I really believe this because I've sold both, that you get a much higher quality customer selling a physical product versus a digital product. Doesn't mean all digital products buyers suck or anything like that. I think for some markets, like for example, when I was selling in the prostate market, you have a burning problem right now, literally painful problem that I can help you solve today. Okay, that's different. All right. Okay, that's an ebook. I mean, you've read that ebook, Jonathan. You know what I'm talking. Like it gives you stuff you could do today. It's maybe not going to cure the problem, but it's at least going to help you a little bit today. And maybe I don't want them to have to wait, 4 or 5 days or whatever. But I'm talking like if you're selling money at a discount, especially, which is basically what many of the people listening to this show do, i.e. selling like informational products that'll help you make more sales with whatever you're selling. I'm just telling you, you're going to get a higher quality product. You're also sending them something in the mail that you can include another sales pitch with, another sheet of paper selling them on something else. There's just many, many reasons for it. But he was the one that made me realize that, this whole thing of everything has to be an ebook and it all has to be digital and everything's going to be online and delivered online. And everything's going to be done online. It's just, it didn't have to be that way. And it's not even necessarily the best way of doing it. So that's another biggie I give all the credit to Mr. Furey for. Probably the single most important thing that I wouldn't even have thought this was a thing, Jonathan, if it weren't for Matt Furey. I really wouldn't have. And he's been beating this drum since the early 2000s and probably even before that. That's as far back as I've seen his stuff, is this idea of infotainment and entertainment. And, this is something that people just throw the words around, right? Because it's finally becoming more and more accepted. But he was the guy in the beginning to really teach this stuff. and to not just teach it, but to be doing it. And, you read his emails, and that, I don't know if he writes a lot of emails for his fitness stuff anymore. Maybe he does. I'm on his list, but I don't seem to get anything. But, who knows? I will say this, those early emails, which I've kept all of them. I've kept all those emails back then. Here's a man who's having a lot of fun making money. He's enjoying it. And that was another big, huge influence on me, that this didn't have to be like this grueling, hard thing. You could have fun and do it in a way where you're making more sales than if you're not having fun. If you're just like this, I'm all business and here are the facts and all that. I'm not saying that doesn't work, but I really believe we're entering a time now, and he was way ahead of the time way ahead of the curve on this, like decades ahead of the curve on this, where you have to, if you're not going to we live in an entertainment obsessed culture now. If you're not entertaining people, you're not keeping their attention. That's just the bottom line. I know there are people who fight this. No, I'm a serious guy. I'm business to business. That bullshit. You are just as susceptible to all to entertain. They're not going home watching documentaries every night. They're going home and watching Beavis and Butthead or whatever they watch. Or what are the cartoons now, John? I don't even know what they are. But they want to be entertained. And of course, there's a difference between our kind of entertainment and what like Matt Furey teaches versus like Super Bowl commercial entertainment. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about entertainment to get people in, to make their mind receptive to what you have to say. There's a lot of psychology behind it. And he's the man he's the man I learned that from. And of course, there's other things like, the idea of daily emails. I learned all this stuff from him. He drilled that into my head, emails every day, just observing. And of course, there's something he teaches too. So here's how to get. Now, I want you to buy Matt Furey's stuff. So here's some things. Recently, as of a few months ago, he put up a Facebook group. And I don't remember the URL off the top of my head. I'm just in it, right? So I don't look at the URL on the toolbar or whatever. But if you go to Facebook and you type in Matt Furey email group or something like that, you will find it. Assuming it's not a closed group. Maybe it may be like a closed, like a secret group or something. You can't find it. But I'm pretty sure it's just a closed group. I think you should be able to find it. And I suggest everybody listening to this get in there. And just everything he says, he teaches so much cool stuff in there. Stuff that people would be more than willing to pay for. No doubt about it. He's doing coaching now for this. So I've observed group coaching. I think he might even be doing an event. And best of all, Jonathan, I'm saving this for last. His original email course is for sale. At least the last I checked, it is for sale.
Ta-da.
And for years, John, how many times have I told everyone, you gotta get
forever.
This? But then they're like, where do I get it? I'm like, I don't know. It's like, I guess you have to call his office up or something. And so I've been sending people like that, but now there's a place where you can go to get it. I think it's $1,000. At least that's what I paid for about 10, 12 years ago, whatever it was. And if you have a list and an offer at all, it's worth it, in my opinion. Like if you just do it, you're going to make money. That's been my experience and the experience of other people. He also has a monthly newsletter again about email copywriting. It's a little more expensive than mine, which is fine. And I believe it's digital too. You have when I have signed up for, I had a choice between digital and physical. I picked the physical because I like to get a physical newsletter, but the U.S. Post Office really is dropping the ball quite a bit lately. And so I said, it's okay. I'll just get it digital. I'll get it however I can get it. And I highly recommend it. So that's my first Mount Rushmore. The head on the first Mount Rushmore is Matt Furey. You can also go to his website at mattfurey.com and where he does all the fitness stuff and the mindset stuff. Cannot recommend him enough. He's just the best in the world at a lot of this stuff. And that's all I got for this time. Next time, Jonathan, next head of my Mount Rushmore, Mr. Gary Bencivenga, and all about stuff I've learned from him. I've had some recent interactions with him, actually. And he's every bit as classy as you imagine. And there's much we can learn from him, and that'll be next week.
All right, looking forward to it. Another bensettle.com podcast is in the can. We'll be back in your earbuds next time.
You've been listening to the bensettle.com podcast. To download yourself a free issue of Ben's prestigious $97 per month email players newsletter, which is going to show you 24 ways to write emails people eagerly read, click, and buy from, head on over to www.bensettle.com. Well, off you go. You know it makes sense.
This is the podcastfactory.com.